It began with silence. Not the easy kind shared by two people who have grown so close that words are unnecessary, but the kind that presses down on the chest, suffocating, leaving you unsure of everything you thought you knew. Aisha sensed it before anyone could have pointed it out. She had always been attuned to the smallest shifts in her husband's moods. She knew the way his voice softened when he was trying to win her over, the way his eyebrow twitched in annoyance, and the little pauses he used when he was hiding something. Lately there were too many pauses. Too many late-night work meetings. Too many calls answered in hushed tones. She tried to reason with herself. 7 years of marriage couldn't unravel over paranoia. Trust had been their foundation. But trust is like glass. Once a crack appears, every movement threatens to shatter it. Every unexplained absence, every vague excuse, every glance at his phone grew heavier on her heart. One evening, as they sat at the dinner table, she reached across to him. His food remained untouched while his attention was buried in his phone. "Armin," she said softly, her voice barely above the clink of cutlery. "Are you even here right now?" Startled, he glanced up as if she had pulled him from another world. "What do you mean?" "Of course I'm here." He let out a laugh, but it didn't reach his eyes. He quickly tucked the phone into his pocket. Aisha's stomach tightened. She smiled back, but it was brittle like glass threatening to splinter. As days blurred into weeks, the signs became undeniable. A cologne she didn't recognize lingered faintly on his shirts. Strange charges appeared on the credit card, places he had never mentioned. And the way he suddenly shielded his phone, as though it contained every secret in the world, was unlike him. She was no fool. She understood that love could fade, that desire could wander. But betrayal, that was different. Betrayal rewrote memories, turning warmth into ashes and promises into lies. One afternoon while he was in the shower, she picked up his phone. Her hands trembled with guilt, but another voice urged her on. The truth was waiting for her, and she was done ignoring it. What she found wasn't just a single careless message. It was an entire thread of them. Long conversations with a woman named Sarah. Every word laced with longing, with a tenderness Armin hadn't shown her in years. Her chest ached as she read his words. "I feel alive with you. You make me forget everything else. I wish I could wake up next to you every day." Her throat burned, her vision blurred. The man who once promised her forever was building another life without her. When Armin stepped out of the bathroom drying his hair with a towel, he saw her on the bed holding his phone. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen, but her voice was unnervingly calm. "How long?" The towel slipped from his hands. "Aisha, it's not what you think." Her laugh was sharp, hollow. "Don't insult me with clichés. I've read everything." Silence filled the room, heavy and suffocating. He sank onto the edge of the bed, burying his face in his hands. "I didn't mean for this to happen. I love you, but with her, it felt different. I felt seen again." The words cut through her like a blade. Seen again. As though she had vanished from his sight. As though her love, her sacrifices, her presence were nothing but background noise. "You felt alive with her," she spat bitterly. "And what was I, Armin? A placeholder? A shadow until something better came along." He reached for her, but she pulled away. The distance between them stretched wider than the space in the room. That night Aisha couldn't sleep. She lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying the moments that had once defined their love. The first kiss on her forehead, the midnight drives, the laughter that used to fill their home. Now every memory felt poisoned, smeared with the stain of his betrayal. The next morning she stood in front of the mirror. Questions swirled in her mind. Was she no longer enough? Was she to blame? But beneath the storm a quiet strength stirred. She realized she had a choice. She could let his betrayal define her, or she could reclaim herself from the shadows he had cast. When she finally spoke, her voice was firm. "I can forgive mistakes, Armin, but lies turn love into poison. I don't know if we can ever come back from this." He cried then, real tears, raw pleading. He begged her to stay, to give him another chance. But every word felt hollow, like echoes in an empty room. She wanted to believe him, to mend what was broken, but trust, once shattered, never returns whole. In the weeks that followed, Armin tried everything. Flowers, apologies, desperate promises. But whenever his hand touched hers, she felt the ghost of another woman between them. Love doesn't disappear overnight, but betrayal plants roots of doubt, and they spread until they choke everything else. One evening, Aisha stepped outside into the cool night air. Inside, Armin sat alone at the same table where they once laughed together. Above her, the stars stretched wide and indifferent. And in that moment, she felt something she hadn't felt in months. Clarity. She wasn't broken. She wasn't invisible. She was a woman who had loved deeply, who had given her all, and who had been betrayed. His betrayal wasn't her failure, it was his. With trembling hands but a steady heart, she wrote him a letter. She didn't lace it with anger or pleadings. She simply told the truth, that she had loved him once, that she had dreamed of forever, but forever couldn't survive on lies. The next morning, Armin found the letter on the table. The house was silent. Her closet was empty, her side of the bed untouched. For Aisha, this wasn't the end of love. It was the beginning of rediscovering herself. For Armin, it was the brutal realization that in chasing the illusion of being seen, he had lost the one person who had truly known him. And that is the cruelest part of betrayal. Not just the affair, but the wreckage it leaves behind, where love once lived and silence takes its place.